Fall camp has ended, and here we are days away from college football, and Aaron Roderick has yet to name QB1 for the season. Welcome to Saturday's Warrior. I'm Trevor, and this is the channel where we talk all things BYU, Big 12, conference realignment. And today we are talking about the head-scratching fact that Aaron Roderick has yet to name a starting quarterback going into the 2024 season, only 10 days away from the season opener. And we all understand that it is a difficult decision before him. Neither quarterback is perfect. Neither quarterback is probably who BYU fans would choose if they were able to, but they are the quarterbacks we have. And we understand that there was this QB battle beginning back in spring camp that has continued until today. And yet, neither one seems to have really fully pulled away, and they have not been able to determine who is going to be the starter. Actually, I had Joe Wheat from the Hype Train podcast, as well as a contributor to SI.com. Go be sure to open that up into another tab. Finish watching this video after you've liked it and subscribe to the channel. Go check out that one. Also like that one. But we went through and broke down the pros and cons of both quarterbacks and what they bring to the table. Very high level summary is that Jake Retzlaff, well, he brings one more year of eligibility, which is great because he could potentially be the quarterback for a couple years. So you bring him in, get him some more experience, but that's not really what he brings. What he brings is probably a higher ceiling. There are some throws that he can make that sounds like Bohanon can't. And while he's not as mobile as Bohanon, he is mobile enough. And a lot of people really like to point out that the ways that he turned over the ball and essentially lost games for BYU down the stretch last season, and essentially leading to BYU missing out on a bowl game. But I would like to point out that Jake was the one that really got BYU in the game in the first place. He brought an added element to the offense that we hadn't had all season, and with those highs and lows, you got to kind of take them as they come, but you'd like to think that after a full season or off season of practice with the team in the scheme and a lot more reps with the other guys, that a lot of that he could have shaken off, that he hopefully looks better. And by all reports, he does. Now, will he still be prone to turning it over in the game? That's TBD, but that is something you have to weigh in this decision. Are the highs worth the potential lows? Now, Bohanon, on the other hand, brings a lot more experience. We know what he did with Baylor and taking them to a Big 12 championship, but he didn't look great at USF. The last time we saw him, just ask Max Tooley, and then he's been injured, and so he's coming back, so he's a bit rusty. But also, while he brings that experience and perhaps that leadership, there are certain elements to this game, to at least the throwing game, that he doesn't have. And we all know that the wide receiver core is extremely deep. So that is a potent weapon that BYU should want to utilize. And if he's not able to get them the ball, then that kind of negates one of our biggest strengths on offense. But what he does bring is a level of athleticism and a run game that we haven't really seen since Taysom Hill. So as Joe Wheat pointed out, he just doesn't really get sacked, and he's a big guy and he is fast. And we really lacked in the run game last year. Now, a lot of that was probably on the O-line, but we still have LJ Martin, who I love, but I do worry a little bit about the depth behind him. And so if he's already going into the season a little bit banged up, then I really worry about the health of our running back. So adding another dimension to the run game with the QB, having to have someone on defense spy him, perhaps opening up holes for our running backs and taking some pressure off that could be a very good thing, and really focus or put a lot of focus on the run game, making things a little bit easier for on the receivers, making it easier to get them the ball. So maybe taking some of that pressure off of Bohanon, having to make some of those more difficult throws. So you can see that there are pros and cons with both quarterbacks, and there are ways to scheme the offense around both of them and help maximize their talents and put them in the best position to help BYU win games. So what Aaron Roderick needs to do now is either needs to decide who he has more faith in, who he thinks is better prepared to execute the scheme that they would put out there for him. But they also need to look at, okay, how would we maximize Retzlaff and how would we maximize Bohanon? And then think about the other personnel you have and the other players that are out there, and which of those situations, which game plan is the rest of the team better equipped to help execute. And if you think, well, hey, we've definitely got the guys to maximize Bohanon, then perhaps that's the answer, and vice versa with Retzlaff. So you just really have to look at that at this point. And if you still think it's equal across the board, at some point, you just have to make a decision and move forward. And that is a very difficult job for an offensive coordinator. You know, if I go out for ice cream, I have a difficult time just picking what flavor I want to eat. So I get it. And for A-Rod, his job is essentially on the line. I think if BYU does not make a bowl game, he's gone. And, you know, even with BYU making a bowl game this season, depending on how they look, it's potentially he's still on the hot seat anyway. So he's really coaching for his life here. And so I understand there's a lot of pressure on that. But I really don't understand the advantage at this point of keeping this information close to the vest. Like if they're leaning one way, they think they're going to go one way, they need to make that decision so the rest of the team can start mentally preparing. Everyone can move forward and understand what the game plan will be. Because even though it's going to be a similar game plan, again, they bring a lot of similarities, there are differences. And so the team needs to know that and be prepared to move forward. And at some point, you know, Southern Illinois, you know, trying to keep them guessing and keep them on their toes. You know, this is an FCS school. I don't understand the gamesmanship for that one. Regardless of who they name as QB1, I would hope and expect BYU to be up by enough that both players get playing time and we get to see both of them in action. So it is possible that they want to wait until after that game to really nail down the starting quarterback position, but I think they should have already named a quarterback, move forward, and then use that game to test some things and see if they're right. And obviously, with both getting a lot of reps at with the starting lineups and throughout fall camp, that both will be in position that if one does not look to be living up to the billing and is not doing what he's supposed to, then that's when you make that switch. You can put them on a short leash. You have that luxury. If they're that close, you have that chance to switch them. But I think you do need to pick one and just make that decision and ride with that guy. But make it now. Make that announcement. We are waiting as BYU fans. We want to know who's going to be QB1. And I guarantee the team wants to know too, so that they can all move forward together. So let me know in the comments, who do you think ultimately will be QB1 and who do you want to see start? Who do you think gives BYU a better chance to win? I go back and forth myself all the time. Right now I'm leaning a little bit Bohanon, but I think there's a strong case for Retzlaff as well. So let me know all that in the comments. Again, be sure to like the video, subscribe, go check out my other video where we go more in depth on the two quarterbacks. And as always, go Cougs.